No, all I'm doing is I'm just being honest with you, G-Man. We're live on air now. If your objection is that I'm being honest with you, I don't know how to help you with that. I'm now hearing that thing. We are on air, so I've now got to do the thing. I got to remember to mute the window. Look how long it's been since I've hosted a Hangout. I forgot a most basic thing. Ladies and gentlemen, we have G-Man with us. I don't even know that we want to do much of an introduction. Oh, I see G-Man has taken off his headset. He's muted. He's one of those headsets. So I don't know if he's actually joining us or not.
I can hear you.
Oh, you can? Well, then what are the headphones for? That's just confusing. Okay. Anyway, G-Man, amongst a variety of topics going on right now that G-Man's involved in, which I will not try to present a list here because there are many things in sort of his personal life, some of it that's private, some of it's exposed. He's got some stuff going on that's online. And amongst all of those things, the thing he wants to talk about today is evolution. I kind of got the impression from an earlier discussion that he wants to talk about sort of hominin evolution and how, for example, the Australopithecines are involved in this. He said he had some questions about it, and he also said he had some information he wanted to share with me about it. So we're going to have that discussion. As you guys know, my favorite format is a one-on-one to sort of get the topic off the ground, and then we can sort of bring in some people. So feel free to message me for the link, and as long as G-Man and I are both cool with you, then you can come on in. We're going to try to do things as respectful as possible. It's also going to be fun, but to be clear, it really is about what did you say, G-Man? Transitional fossils, hominin evolution, and that sort of thing. And I know that G-Man has a lot of other interesting and fascinating events going on in his life, some of which he likes to keep private, some of which he does like to discuss on his channels. So, hey, how's about you bring that stuff over to his channel? Because if you come in here with it, then I got to kick you out because we're talking about this today. G-Man, do you want to add any other introductory thoughts? And then we can rap about what we're going to rap about.
No, let's just talk about what we're going to talk about. And all the people that called me a coward earlier, please come in here and prove I'm a coward, on this topic of evolution.
Yeah. Okay. Actually, that's a good way to put it. Sorry, not the coward thing. Well, maybe whatever. You deal with that. If you want to join, then you can message either me or G-Man for the link. I think G-Man, the way you're on a computer, so you can reshare the link with your folks as well too, or send them to me. But I would like to sort of keep it just us for let's say 10 minutes to get the topic off the ground. Why don't you open that? Why don't you say what it was that you had been talking about? As I mentioned, I've been variously between doing 3 different types of yard work and in and out of Drag's Hangout. So I didn't get a full listen to what you were talking about. I heard only about the last 5 minutes when I was participating in your chat. So why don't you go ahead and tell us what's on your mind?
Well, I did a video before the video I just got finished doing about 2 or 3 hours ago, just talking about, what is your why? And I talked about how there was no proof for evolution. And I said that I'm more than open to talk about transitional fossils and whether or not we have enough or we have any at all to prove that macroevolution is true. In the video that I just got finished doing, where I actually, hold on, before I even get to that, in the video, what is your why? I had said in the video that because somebody had called me a chicken or said I was scared or whatever. And I know they were just baiting me to come to somebody's channel. So I had said that, okay, I'm bored. After I do my laundry or whatever, I'll agree to go to somebody else's room. So this is when I started this other hangout that I did. It was called Drags, Hog Tie, or My Channel, I think it was called. And in that video, I talked about how I'll go to Dragna's YouTube channel and for free or whatever if he's willing to actually get serious and talk about the transition, these my issues with evolution and whatnot, and why I don't believe in it. And then somebody came in my live chat and left a goofy comment, and I said, "You want to know what?" And I go in there. Then you came up, and we already talked about that, so there's no need to go into that again. And then I was going to do it on my channel. You did finally show up on my channel, and I agreed to come to your channel. So I want to talk about these transitional forms. I want to see whether or not, or at least give the audience a bigger reason. A greater understanding of why I reject evolution, and why I talk down on it so much on GTV.
Okay, yeah, that sounds about right. And I appreciate that because it catches me up on what had happened before I'd seen what was on your thing. Actually, when I got there, you were doing songs. So that was kind of confusing given the email that I got about what was going on there. But I mean, I'm always open to, that's why you've had my email address and my Skype address for a long time. I'm always open if you want to talk or you want to host something or whatever, just send me email. I'm HogTieChamp on Gmail. I'm HogTieChamp at Skype. I'm not on Twitter, not on Facebook, because I'm not a social media whore. But so I think one thing you wanted to add, G-Man, you had said that you wanted to make sure people understand that when we say transitional fossil, we're talking about the same thing. And this is actually, I've heard you make this request of people for quite a long time now. Sorry, there's transitional form and transitional fossil. So did you want to put out there what you're looking for? I mean, either for transitional form or transitional fossil.
Well, I believe that they're one and the same. You know, the transitional forms and the transitional fossils. I'll give you the technical definition if you want. The technical definition for it is any fossilized remains of a life form that exhibits traits common to both the ancestral group and its derived descendant group. That's one definition that you can use. Like for example, I keep hearing like how how human beings share a common ancestor with all living things. You know, it started off with a single cell and it became a multi-cell, and you know the rest of the story and whatnot. If that's true, then there has to be some records, some bone records of similarities between myself, not just similarities, transitional forms of myself and whatever the heck came before, whatever came before human beings, and not stuff that is imagined, not stuff that can be argued with other scientists. I mean, like stuff that is fact, that can be proven. And I want it done without people contradicting their worldviews. I'm done.
I am struggling to find. It's Control D. I have been so long since I've been doing Hangouts. I almost hit the big red stop broadcast button on the bottom, which I did once in a Hangout with Arcane Logos. I mean, I think your understanding of your definitions you provide for transitional form and transitional fossil are. I don't really hear any major problems. If there's anything I want to correct, it's not what you just said. It's okay. Please, people in the live chat. Okay, it's not the batteries. Okay, I need you to, even if you don't listen to what G-Man and I talk about, please spend the next 2 minutes going on Google, do a search for my smoke detector beeps 3 times. It's 1 beep if the batteries are low. It's 3 beeps if the smoke detector is too old. They're based on some radioactive material that there's a known period of decay. So after 10 years, the little chip says just beep 3 times to get the people to get these things out of their house because they don't have enough of the radioactive material. You know, I'll learn that if you Googled it. I'm sure there's more interesting stuff you can put in my live chat than that. But G-Man, you should get them swapped. I don't know how that would happen under your living circumstances. I don't want you to tell us what your living circumstances are, but please, for all of our sanity, make it happen. Get rid of those old smoke detectors. I did hear.
I'm renting. I could probably, I'll talk to my landlord. We'll see.
Yeah, be polite. Be polite. I can tell you that here over to the Costco, they're $10 each. I know when I moved into this house, I just sprang for brand new ones because I didn't know how old the old ones were. How is that relevant? I did hear you respond the other day, maybe about a week ago. You'd said something about that some atheist had told you that you were a transitional fossil. And I strained to imagine under what circumstances that sort of thing would make sense. I mean, I understand when people say, well, you're a transitional form in that you are sort of the bridge between your ancestors and your descendants. But fossil, as I understand it, kind of has a particular meaning, is that it has to be signs of life. Now, do you consider a living being a fossil? I don't think that's accurate. But the fossil doesn't have to be like a rocky thing. It can be traces of like, worm tracks in the mud that's then hardened. That could be a fossil. But I wouldn't think that you're a transitional fossil. I think if anybody said that to you, that would be silly. And are you a transitional form? Well, you would be a transitional form only if you have ancestors, which you do, and you have offspring, which is unclear whether you do, because sometimes you say you have kids, sometimes you say you don't. Again, that's not something to get into. I think that's a silly issue. I think you're okay with the transitional thing. So where does that get us when you say, like what is on your mind, I guess, is again what I'm asking. Like you're asking.
No, I said like this: if evolution is true, then I'm not. Then the statement about me sharing a common ancestor or me being related to cows and pigs and things like that would not be true. You understand what I'm saying? Because in order for that to be true, you have to be able to show the transitional forms to be able to prove that. Now, you can go to a museum, and I've done that, and you can go look at the pictures and go look at the bones that they have and look at what they deem to be similarities to not similarities, the small little changes that happen over a long period of time to suggest that you're related to these to these animals. But again, those are more like something that people imagine. That's not evidence. That's not proof. Especially when you got people that have like so many different definitions for what evidence is and what proof is. You know what I mean? If I tell you, like, for example, that the proof that God exists is this, and this, and this, and you tell me that's not evidence, and then you come to me as an evolutionist and you say to me that this is the evidence and it sounds very similar to what I said about God, then I'm going to reject it as being evidence because you just got finished telling me that it wasn't evidence. So I don't trust pictures. I don't trust the diagrams. Why are you so confident that we share, if this is what you believe, why is it that you are so confident that you share a common ancestor with a pig or like a cow or whatever?
I tell you, in fairness, G-Man, you actually had made that point before, and you made it successfully. I think you know what happened, having had years of conversations with me. I got distracted by people complaining about your smoke detector. So you've now twice successfully put in front of me what you're asking for is not just evidence for evolution, because we know that evolution happens, right? There's change from generation to generation, and speciation happens. You're cool with that stuff. What you're saying is it's the claim, the very extraordinary claim, that these things all have common ancestors. So, I mean, to go to the extreme, I mean, a person would believe that, if you believe in common ancestry, that we're cousins with strawberries. I mean, that's a remarkable claim. That's, it's on its face, it just sounds crazy. Even dialing it back to something more simple, to say that we are cousins with the chimpanzees, that we share a common ancestor with chimpanzees, that is such an extraordinary claim. It requires evidence, and that's what when you're saying you want these transitional forms. That's the type of thing you're looking for. Is that now, after you saying it twice, am I now finally getting what you're asking?
Yeah, where's the proof that I share a common ancestor with an elephant?
Okay, well, I think part of the problem is when you ask for transitional forms, and I kind of know what you mean, because I've heard you say things like, well, I want to show, I think you said one a while ago, you wanted proof that humans came from rats, that and I know you know better than that. You know that the view is that back before, like, say, in the 70 million year ago range, there were the only mammals around were very, very small. And then they say 65 or 66 million years ago, there was an asteroid that struck what is now the Yucatan Peninsula, and all of the large dinosaurs get wiped out. And then after after that collision, you've got only small dinosaurs, and then now you start getting some big mammals, right? So you don't necessarily want to say, well, show me how rats are our ancestor. Show me the transition from rats to humans, because there is no transition from rats to humans, right? What you're looking for is the common ancestor between rats and humans. And I think you actually have asked that question before. I think I'm just confused when you were saying that you wanted transitional fossils from rats to humans, because there is no transition from rats to humans. So does that? And I want to get your point about where the evidence is.
I understand.
Okay,
I agree, and I understand that there is that you're not going to jump from a rat to a human like in a year or something like that. That's something that has to happen according to evolutionists. That's something that has to happen. What is that, like over billions of years, or millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of years?
And never, but literally never.
Okay,
never.
So if we can get a chart here for a moment, right? I don't know how we would do this. So let's just say that we got a leg here and we got a leg here, right? Yeah. Humans are over here, okay? And I guess it would be apes or whatever going up or whatever, right? And then over here, you would have your rats and your rat type creatures and whatnot, and the species and whatnot, right? Now, in order for the two to be related, there has to be some type of a common ancestor there. What is the common ancestor, and how did it happen? And how do you know that we share a common ancestor? Because there is a argument against it, and it's called intelligent design. But I'll get to that a little bit later. But I would like to hear, since you just admitted that we're not in the same family tree, the immediate family tree, I guess, right? So how do you figure rats and human beings are related to each other?
Right. Okay. I have to admit, G-Man, at first I was afraid you weren't getting it, because the first thing you said was about, people coming from rats. But then now you're making it very clear using your arms as the chart. By the way, Hangouts used to have a great little whiteboarding app that we could sit there and doodle on a whiteboard. They don't have it anymore. So G-Man and I are going to rely on waving our arms around to try to make sense of the audience. But yeah, that's right. So then the question, so yeah, you don't want to say that the transition from rats to humans, because there is no such thing. You don't want to ask for evidence that people came from rats, because that's not at all the idea. The way you described it at the end there is perfect, that there's a common ancestor, and then some branch through whatever processes becomes humans, and some other branch through becomes some other animals that includes modern rats or whatever else, right? Even to keep it simpler, we could say chimps or bonobos. Now that raises the question: is how does a person, who says, "Well, I really want to see the evidence of this," because I mean, I can tell you what the evidence is, but you've been told already. It's based on like a wealth of fossil evidence, right? Like them understanding morphology from extant and extinct creatures, and then more recently, there's genetic analyses where you can do computer analyses of completely objective mathematical analyses of gene sequences, and show that there's sort of a hierarchy that makes this tree, exactly like you're holding your arms up in that tree fashion with the branches, like you were saying. You get that same, you get a structure when you sort the DNA too. And it turns out to map on exceptionally well, nearly perfectly, with that sort of tree that you understand. That tree, as it applies to body shapes and morphology, the thing you get from genetics matches that thing nearly perfectly. I think you've heard that as an answer before. If you want to respond to that, please do now before I go on to the next point, because then the question is, where's the evidence? So,
well, no, actually, the question is not where's the evidence. Again, if in order for anyone to prove that I share a common ancestor with a mouse, one of the ways that you can do it is transitional forms. But we've already discussed how you're not going to jump from a rat to a human and whatnot, right? Tell me something. The DNA of a rat and the DNA of a human, is the DNA of a rat and the DNA of a human exactly the same? Yes or no?
well, certainly not. You can't find two humans that have exactly the same DNA.
Okay, great. So how close is the rat and the human being to each other?
I don't have that number to hand.
Okay, you don't need it, by the way.
Just pick a percentage, yeah. I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
Just for discussion, let's say it's, I don't know, 74. Who knows? Whatever.
Okay, great. So how did evolution, well, actually not evolution, how did DNA change that much over a long period of time for something like a human being to come about from this creature? Because one of the so-called common ancestors for a human being is supposed to be an animal called a shrew, if I'm not mistaken. It's supposed to be like a little small little critter about this big and whatnot, according to these.
Shrew. Yeah, shrew is one clade.
It's supposed to be a shrew, right? And the shrew is actually, and I went to the Museum of Natural History and I saw it as one of the things that they put on your chart that apparently is in the family tree of human beings. And there was all these little teeny weeny changes that happened over billions of years to suggest that we share a common ancestor with this shrew. Now, how do you get the changes in DNA to happen via evolution, or I guess mutation, via mutations, to get from a shrew to something that's no longer a shrew, to something that's no longer a shrew, to something that's no longer a shrew, till you get the humans? How does that happen?
Okay, again, yeah, I was trying to be kind before, like when you had said, "Oh, I know that rats can't turn into humans in a year. It takes millions of years." And I said, "No, never. Please get that out of your head. Nobody thinks rats turned into humans." Now you're talking about the shrew, which I'll pronounce carefully. The shrew is not an ancestor of humans. There's no genetic transformation that's going to take the highly specialized modern shrew and turn it into human beings. That doesn't happen. Nobody thinks it happens. Nobody suggests it happens. Nobody wants you to believe it happens. No one's teaching our school children that happens. That's not a thing. Okay. So we're going to get past that, but you want to get to the common ancestor thing.
Yeah, so you are from Canada and I'm from America, and I've been to the Museum of Natural History and I've seen what they have there, and they do have a chart. We're in the human family tree that it starts off with a single cell, a multi-cell. It becomes like a little creature that was in the water, ultimately became a shrew. And yes, I am skipping a lot of things. We ultimately became a shrew, and it became something that, it became something that was not a shrew, something that's not a shrew, until ultimately you get the human beings or whatever. Now, the point of the matter is, for this to happen, DNA has to change and it has to evolve. Now, you're going to say that no one believes that we came directly from a shrew. Well, if that's true, then, sir, how the heck do you believe you related to a rat? Or you?
Okay,
wait a minute, I'm not done yet.
Okay, go ahead, sorry.
Hold on a minute. So, how the heck do you believe that you're related to a shrew, or a rat, or a mouse, or a cat, or a dog, or anything like that, if these things are not in your family tree? See, I understand the difference between what we're talking about in taxonomic classifications. I understand it. All right. What I want to know is that how do evolutionists come to the conclusion, without confusing anybody, that we're related to a shrew, without the shrew making all of these changes over a long period of time before you get to humans? Okay, like where do you get the relation from?
Okay, I can do that. Okay, so here's the thing, G-Man. Now we're cousins, right? You know, you're agreed. We're cousins.
Yeah, because we're both human beings. We didn't come
Yeah.
from animals.
Yeah, and I don't know where to put us on our. I mean, are you and my? We're in each other's family tree. Well, I don't even know what do you think it is? We're probably 72nd cousins, 14 times removed, right? Like we're not close cousins,
All
right?
of us, both of us are related to Adam and Eve. You're right about that. We're both related to
Okay.
Adam and Eve.
Okay. Well, regardless of whether you think it's through Noah's family or Adam's family or both, obviously, or through any other means, this is a point of agreement. You and I are cousins. We're very distant cousins, but we're in each other's family tree. You'd have to plot this tree out at a pretty big piece of paper to have G-Man in this branch and Hogtie on that branch. But we do have common ancestors, right?
Yes, we do. They're called Adam and Eve. They're called human
Gotcha.
beings.
Gotcha. I would like you to prove to me now, and I'm going to give you the same standard that you used. You're asking me to prove how humans descended from shrews. I'm going to ask you to prove it to me now. I want you to prove to me that you and I are cousins, okay? And here's the way you have to prove it. I want you to prove that I made small changes in my DNA and I turned into you. That's what I want you to prove.
No, actually, I don't have to do that because number one, me and you both are in the same. Me and you both are human beings. We're not talking about being related to something that is not a human being. Okay, it's a serious thing when you're going around teaching little children and you're teaching adults that they share a common ancestor with lettuce and with giraffes and animals like that and whatnot.
Yeah. Don't
okay, now, if you got Adam and Eve having children, okay, and they get married and they reproduce and then they reproduce and they reproduce and they reproduce. By the way, you can see all of this. This is called microevolution, all right, or variations within the kinds. You know what I mean? Where you see them giving birth to their offsprings and giving birth to their offsprings. Oh, they live in different parts of the world. Now their skin color looks a little bit different. Their language is different. And they have children, they have children, they have children. That's all the proof I need to present. Now, you can't say that when it comes to, let's say everything started off with a fish. Because you want to know why? Because when a fish has offspring, fish are always going to produce fish. They're going to always produce fish. They're always going to produce fish. They're always going to produce fish. They're always going to produce fish unless they were designed to produce something else. So I'm sorry, that doesn't work. In order for an evolutionist to convince me that I share a common ancestor with an elephant, they got to be able to demonstrate it to me somehow, and they haven't been able to do it.
Okay, I got you there. Now you just ran 100 miles away from that question, and I'm going to give you credit for it because I'm assuming you recognize the question is silly, right? Your local family, like your mom and dad and brothers and sisters, and my mom and dad and brothers and sisters, didn't turn into each other, right? You and I understand that we have a common ancestor, and if you were to ask to prove, well, hey, Hogtie, why do you believe that we have a common ancestor? How can you prove that you and I have a common ancestor? We could at least discuss what that evidence would be because we have the same understanding of what the claim is. But as soon as you come in and you say, I want you to show me the changes that a shrew makes to stop being a shrew and become a human being, you're asking a question that what you really claim to be asking for, right?
No.
And that's all. No. Okay. That's all. Okay. I do want to get to the evidence issue, to where the evidence is.
Well, actually, I'd like to respond
really
to what you just said. I'd like to respond to what you just said. So
Sure,
you got a problem. Sounds like you got a problem with reproduction because I can prove that a human being is related to another human being, no matter how many generations you go, because of reproduction. You, however, cannot prove that I share a common ancestor with a shrew using reproduction. So it is a mute point. So again, where is the evidence that I share a common ancestor with an elephant?
Okay, well, I can give you that again. I can tell you we should discuss the evidence thing. I'm really starting to get the sense that this part's running dry here, where you're not really getting that you can't ask for a transition from a shrew to a human because nobody believes there is such a thing because that didn't happen. You can't ask for why, and nobody does. Not a single person does. That a shrew became a human.
Okay, you remember? Okay, let me give you an opportunity right now. So sure. You're speaking for other people that you never heard speak before.
Okay, well,
you don't like it when I use the L word.
Go ahead.
But if I play the video where this where this college professor said in a debate that given enough time that anything can become anything, you know, then you're gonna get mad at me when I use the big L word. You know what I mean? I'm trying to avoid doing that. Maybe you're mistaken. Maybe you're mistaken.
What's the L word?
Well, I don't want to use it because we agreed that I wouldn't use it.
Liar? Oh, you want to lie and call me a liar? You can do that.
You said that nobody ever said that.
All right, G-Man, this is a really easy point to pass. Let me correct it then. If there's anybody out there who says that a shrew made changes in its genetics and became a human, stopped being a shrew and became a human, that person's wrong. Now, when I say, well, nobody says that, I mean, I've never seen anybody, maybe that's a better way to put it. Fine, fine, fine. You can pin me to the mat on this little technical thing that I said, nobody argues it. But I've never heard, have you ever heard somebody say that a shrew turned into a human, or that a population of shrews reproduced and turned into humans? Is that actually a claim you've heard?
So this is what I heard.
I've never heard it. I don't believe that anybody with any knowledge would argue with any seriousness that that's the case.
This is what I heard, and you're playing a little semantics with me, and I'm gonna tell you why. All right, but first, let me tell you what I heard. Okay, I heard that I share a common ancestor with the shrew. If two shrews got together, all right, according to the theory of evolution, they had sex, the shrew is going to come out looking slightly different than their parents.
And still be a shrew.
One of their it's going to be a shrew. And guess what? I believe via microevolution that no matter how many times those shrews have offspring, guess what? Is always going to be a shrew.
Yeah.
Now, if that's true, then I don't share a common ancestor with the shrew, because there's no way for you to be able to show via reproduction that I share a common ancestor with it. There's no way you can.
No. Okay, again, that's the point you're mixing up, but I do think we're going to have to just drop this.
No. I don't want to drop this.
Okay.
I want to see how these changes happen over a long period of time. These little teeny weeny changes happen over a long period of time, where this shrew is no longer a shrew. It becomes something that's not a shrew no more, or whatever. Okay. And then ultimately, if you go down a few billion years or whatever, you get the humans and whatnot. So you're trying to make it sound like that I'm arguing that you go from a shrew to a human. Wait a minute, hold on a minute.
You literally just said that.
Not what I said. You and other evolutionists on here are trying to make it sound like that I believe that you're going to jump from a shrew to a human. And you know full well that's not what I'm talking about.
No, I know what you mean. Let me try it. You're saying that there's a thing called a shrew. There's a population of shrews. By the way, let's be clear about this. I'm going to get away from the Steve thing that he did to you when he said about a dog literally living millions of years and turning it. That's clearly not what you said. I'm going to get away from that whole problem. Nobody here is saying that a shrew organism will transform into a human. That's not even on the table. Also, nobody is saying that you have a population of shrews and then a generation or 2 or 5 years later they turn into humans. That's not your claim. That's not anybody's claim. What you're saying that the claim is that there's a population of shrews, and then they breed and they breed and they breed and they breed, and over a long period of time, at some point in there's something you would say they're not shrews anymore, and then at some point even later than that you would say that they are humans. Is that what you're saying you want proven to you?
Okay, I'll put it to you this way. Do you believe that dinosaurs are birds and birds are dinosaurs?
No. I just want you to answer the one question. Yeah.
I am answering the question with a question. Do you believe that dinosaurs are birds and birds are dinosaurs?
No. Yes.
Okay, so
hold on. Ask it again. Ask it again slowly.
Do you believe that birds are dinosaurs and dinosaurs and dinosaurs are birds?
No. Ask it again. Ask it again.
I would like to actually show everybody what
ask it again. I want to make sure you're clear on the answer. Ask the question again. Ask the question.
Hold on a minute. I want to answer
the question.
I want to answer the original question. So calm down.
Okay, go ahead.
If there's supposed to be other people in here, are you sharing the link?
Are you ready for that?
Or are you trying to share it into a one-on-one conversation? You said 10 minutes. All right.
Well, we've been more than 10 minutes.
It's obvious that you don't understand what I'm talking about. So I'm just gonna I'm gonna draw some pictures here. Okay. So let me get this straight here. So this is a shrew, and no, I don't think I spelled this correctly. All right. So
you did. That's perfect.
Let's say that that's a shrew and whatnot, right? Okay. In order for me to be related to this, somewhere in its tree, human beings have to be on it. If you don't have a human being on that tree, I am not related to the shrew.
No.
And I don't share a common ancestor with the shrew.
No, you're wrong. G-Man, let me explain. I can clarify that. I want to ask you a quick question. No. Okay. I want to ask you a quick question about my beliefs. Mm-hmm. Do you think it is my belief that dinosaurs are birds?
I believe that evolutionists.
No, me. You ask me the question. Go ahead.
Time out. I believe that evolutionists teach, and I can prove it via video, and you can sit there and call me whatever you want. I don't care, because I'll just go on my channel and prove it. I believe that evolutionists teach that birds are dinosaurs and dinosaurs are birds. I have the late Jade actually saying
Yes, no. Go ahead.
Well, I'm glad you're finally admitting that she was wrong.
No, she never got it wrong. I've heard her say it several times. She'd never gotten it wrong. Let me ask you this: do you think that Jade believes that
take down this video?
Dinosaurs are birds.
Take down this video.
Man. Do you think that I've never? Hold on. The only time I'm always going to run away. The only time I've ever taken down a video is when somebody said your real name. I want to give that caution again too. If you do come in the room, none of that. Just don't do it on my channel, okay? There's lots of places on the internet you can make fun of them. You do not need to go on my channel and say his name. G-Man, answer me this question, please. Start with the word. Start your head. You can say whatever you want, but please start with the word yes or the word no. Did Jade believe that dinosaurs are birds?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Do I
believe? No all you want? No. Yes.
She didn't.
As far as Jade goes, yes. As far as you go, I haven't even had. Here's the thing with you, Hogtie.
You've asked me 3 times. I've answered 3 times.
You guys change your positions when it's convenient for you, but it doesn't make a difference, because when I start making my counter argument with intelligent design, my argument is going to make a heck of a lot more sense than you telling me that a shrew will reproduce and always create a shrew, and then try to argue that I share a common ancestor with it. That's not true. I don't share a common ancestor with an animal because I am not an animal. I am a human being. I have dominion over all of the animals that's here on the earth. Yeah, so do you.
Okay, hang on, G-Man. Now, just give me a second, okay? Now, I do my best to let you talk, and I've interrupted a couple times. I apologize for that. Just for now, let's just take a deep breath. You and I are having that sort of energy that we sometimes have, and it's fun, but in a way, it kind of gets in the way. I want to be clear about this birds or dinosaurs or birds thing. You asked me the question 3 times. I answered it 3 times, okay? So it went like this. You said, do you believe, I'm going to do it very slowly. You said, do you believe that birds are dinosaurs? I said, yes. And dinosaurs are birds? I said, no. Okay, they're 2 separate questions. Do you believe that birds are dinosaurs? Yes, I do. So did Jade. So do most people in the live chat right now. Do you believe that dinosaurs are birds? No, I don't believe that. Jade never believed that. To my knowledge, she never said it. Nobody in the live chat believes that. Do you accept that distinction?
I accept the fact that I am very happy that she's been on my channel more than enough times. That's all.
Yeah. Okay, well, G-Man, here's the thing. Let me address this. My turn.
Video. Don't take it down.
G-Man. Okay, G-Man, you don't need to keep saying that. The only reason I take down videos is because people come in and say your real name. It's the only time I've ever taken down
I'm pretty sure somebody's.
Okay, anyway, so go ahead and lie. I'm just going to mute because I do want to make this point. Feel free to unmute yourself. I welcome that. I just don't need, again, because you asked me as a courtesy to not do stuff like that to you. So I'm not going to allow you to do it to me.
I told you to invite other people in here. You don't want to make only public.
I have sent out the link. They should be coming in here pretty quick. And by the way, have you sent out the link to anybody? I certainly welcome you to do that. Anyone who's listening who G-Man has sent the link to, you are certainly welcome.
So far, I don't need no help. But if I do invite somebody,
no, that's fine. Well, also I do prefer it doesn't get too terribly muddied. But let me say something, G-Man. There is one frequent mistake you make, and I want to sort of offer this up as a way that you can sort of improve the way you talk with people. And you're not going to take this well, but it comes from a good place. So please try to listen. You quite often accuse people of changing their position when in fact it's your understanding of their position that has changed, or when it's confused. So for example, I want to ask you 2 questions right now, G-Man. Do I believe that birds are dinosaurs? Yes or no? Do I believe that birds are dinosaurs?
You want me to presume to know what you believe? Actually, you know what?
I've answered it 5 times now.
To both. You believe that birds are dinosaurs and dinosaurs are birds, and I'll prove it later with taxonomy. But anyway, let's continue.
No, they're not.
When it's time to get into taxonomy, we'll see about that.
Well, let's do it. It's time now. It's time now. You show me, and here's the funny thing. You've now claimed to have the ability to prove. Again, people, come on in. I don't see anyone popping up here. You now claim to have the ability to prove that Hogtie Champ believes that dinosaurs are birds. Go ahead and prove that I believe that.
Well, do you believe in taxonomic classifications?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. Do you believe that we share a common ancestor with dinosaurs?
Yes.
Okay. Do you believe that you're an ape?
Yes.
You believe that apes are humans?
Only some are. A very small number of apes turn out to be humans. Most are not. Most apes are not humans.
I don't need to say anything else then. I don't need to say anything else.
Yeah, you do.
I don't.
Explain.
Okay, hold on. It's all right.
G-Man, let's try this.
I like to move on.
Are New Yorkers, G-Man, are New Yorkers Americans?
Yes.
So you're saying that all Americans are New Yorkers? Boom.
I'm saying
that. Mic drop. You got
I'm saying that Americans are New Yorkers. I have no problem with that. I can say Americans are New Yorkers. I don't have a problem with that.
All Americans are New Yorkers.
I have no problem. I have no problem.
I say you're dumb as a sack of hair. I cannot. You would say that.
Well, I did
No, I'm being honest with you. You're dumb as a sack of hair. If you're going to get on a hangout, you're going to get on a hangout and you're going to say, well, for me to be consistent in my position, I have to argue that all Americans are New Yorkers. So, yeah, okay, yeah, I say all Americans are New Yorkers. That's why people say you're dumb as a sack of hair, because you can't stay conversationally honest with people. You have the right to respond to that. Sokka's joined us, but Sokka, just hold off. Let's give G-Man a chance to address.
All right. So Americans are New Yorkers. Indians are New Yorkers. I don't know. Chinese people are New Yorkers. You know, the problem with you sometimes, Altai, you do so much talking, you do so little listening that you actually believe the stuff that's coming out of your mouth.
What I said was all Americans New Yorkers. Now, once again, you told me ahead of time that you would not accept that.
In the middle of me talking.
Therefore, yeah, because you made it. Oops, I accidentally hit eject. I hope it didn't go through. Oh, it didn't. Okay. I was looking for mute, but I hit eject. Thank goodness it didn't go through. I did not intend to eject you. Thank goodness. No, G-Man, I said, no, you're going to stand behind this position. All, that word is spelled A-L-L, all Americans are New Yorkers. So even people who grew up in Alaska and have never been to New York, you're saying that they're New Yorkers. That's what you're saying. That's your position, right?
Okay. So if that's your argument, then let me ask you something then. I believe that there's a gentleman on YouTube, not just on YouTube.
Okay, so he's just going to evade it.
His name is,
how you doing?
Wait a minute, hold on a minute.
No, he's not evading it.
Are you going to let me finish, dude, or what? Because if you're
not, hold on. Because you said, no, you want to leave, you can leave. You insisted people stay on topic when I asked you to stay on topic.
Do that, but you won't shut up for me to do it.
Go ahead.
Okay, so you know you messed up. So anyway, Ray Comfort.
No, again, you said that you wouldn't take that from me, so I'm not going to take that from you. Go ahead and unmute and tell us about Ray Comfort.
Ray Comfort does the same things when he asks quick questions, and then a person will respond, and then after they respond, they'll mess up and say something. Now, I didn't mess up. I stand by what I said. I have no problem with that whatsoever.
All Americans, New York.
Here's the thing now. There's a guy by the name of PZ Myers that had to happen to him. Does that mean he's an idiot? Because I can literally go to my channel and show how this has happened to several people who happen to be atheists and say, okay, I guess according to Hall-Tie Champ standards, this person's an idiot. So you can call me an idiot all you want. That doesn't bother me.
You find me the clip. Okay, you go ahead. We're going to introduce Sokka now. G-Man, I want you to use the next couple of minutes to find that clip of PZ Myers saying that all Americans are New Yorkers.
I never said that. I never said that.
Okay. Anyway, Sokka, what's on your mind? This is growing tedious because, I mean, G-Man won't listen to the most simple point. I mean, the fact that
you're a common ancestor with an elephant, Hawkeye.
I told you 10 minutes ago.
Where is your argument?
It would be nice if people weren't being interrupted. Just to say, it would be nice if people could have a conversation without being incessantly interrupted every time they say something. I'm just going to throw that out there, just kind of in the aether. And
where is your argument, Hog-Tie Champ? Where is it?
It is fair. Hold on a sec.
Remember our arrangement, Hog-Tie?
Yeah. Okay. Hold on. We're going to stick with our arrangement now. I do not want you muting other people in the room. Hold on. We're going to do an administrative thing here. My channel. Man, you remember the thing you shout? You go into people's hangouts and you shout about how they have to follow their rules. We're going to dial things back a whole bunch now. Now, G-Man and I have a bit of energy. Drag makes a good point about people shouldn't be interrupting each other. That's fairly pointed at both G-Man and I because we've been interrupting each other like mad. With more people coming in the room, it gets worse and worse. I would like everyone to please give everyone a little wider berth to finish saying what they're saying. And that includes G-Man. I've interrupted him like 15 times here, so let's not let that happen anymore. G-Man, I do want you to accept though that when somebody tells you that something is a subset of something, that there's a subset of Americans that are Alaskans, for example. All Alaskans are Americans, but not all Americans are Alaskans. All birds are dinosaurs. Not all dinosaurs are birds. It's a very, very simple thing. And that's where you can go, oh, okay, I misunderstood. Now I understand. Thank you. Okay, great. Sokka, what you got there? I see him unmuted. Let me mute. Let's let Sokka go for a bit. If you're like me, you hear nothing from Sokka. He is unmuted.
He still needs to get his Canadian internet working because obviously Canada Net is having some issues right now. So
we wrapped the aluminum foil around the rabbit ears.
Oh really? Oh man, it's y'all about 20 years. Okay, his camera works.
Sort of back.
Say something, Sokka.
Oh, yeah, well, G-Man's wandering off. G-Man's also, in our earlier discussion, repeatedly threatened that, well, if it doesn't be bearded, I'm going to leave. Okay, well, he can leave anytime he wants. I got better stuff to do.
I threaten people all the time with me leaving because that's a credible threat. And people are incredibly
anybody have any proof that evolution is true?
Oh, hi.
Okay,
Hi,
hold on.
yes. So I want to correct. So I did mention this earlier. I did mention this earlier that it would be nice if we could talk and not interrupt one another. And that just for everyone.
That evolution is true. You guys are wasting my time. Where's your
I would like to actually get out of statement without being interrupted. That's also a nice thing to do.
Call me. I'm gonna be in the other room. Call me when you guys are ready to talk.
Okay, cool. So let the adults are going to talk. So yeah, here's what's interesting. As somebody who has literally spent time with him in real life trying to teach him this very topic, let me bring up something that's very pertinent here, because he keeps saying that, and this is a small point, the shrew that he thinks is a shrew is actually a shrew-like mammal. And so actually, and check this out, this is cool. The American Museum of Natural History, I don't know if anyone's ever heard of this thing, but we might have visited this place. So here in the first paragraph, the fossilized remains of an extinct shrew-like animal found in Mongolia have helped pinpoint the origin of most modern mammals, according to new work by Michael J. Novosek and from the American Museum of Natural History and colleagues. So right there is a huge distinction of something that we spent a lot of time focusing on, amongst other things, amongst genetics, which I will get into, that his understanding of this topic is relegated to what YouTube videos he can remember in the moment, even after he complained incessantly that everyone simply made fun of him. I took the time, Fiona took the time, Vincent took the time, and others, Hannah, others took the time to painstakingly explain to him that this is not simply based on people just drawing tenuous graphs between transitional forms and what they think something is connected to the knee joint here and there. It is a comprehensive, right? Comprehensive theory built from many different aspects, including the genetic one. And in fact, when you first walk into this place that he loves to reference, to your left will be a panel of it's a display, and it has the DNA of humans, chimpanzees, and of the remains, what is human hominid, a human-like hominid, one of our sister species, if you will. I forget it specifically which one. And then it was explained to him by myself and a few others that the evidence that we use is very compelling as the genetic evidence. You can't get away from the genetic evidence. So if you don't have a strong understanding or even a cursory understanding of genetics, it's going to be truly hard to get really what that means. And so we kind of handicap here in certain conversations where I can't really go into the genetics of why that's relevant. But we can say that, okay, hey, if you know that paternity tests work, well, wouldn't you infer that we could use a similar technique to remains of people who are no longer here? Oh, wait, we already do that. So what about people who were not here for a long time? Could we do that as well? Well, turns out we can. Some of them are just old enough to have some viable DNA, and we can definitely piece together and do, I don't know, we'll call it an alignment. We could do an alignment and see where these things line up. So
we do bite-sized pieces here, Drag.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, let me just that's kind of a brief overview. I've monologued long enough so that Sokka can come in and offer some education that's very succinct and very nourishing for our minds.
Okay. Now we can hear Sokka. Hold on a sec. I do want to give Sokka. I know you've been patient and you've had audio problems and it's working now. We can hear you. But Drag had some points there to make for G-Man, and I think it's fair. Let's let G-Man address it. And I don't want to read it. Go ahead, G-Man. You got something? Or skip it, whatever. It's up to you. It's all good.
Yeah, I'll actually like to respond to each individual who like to make their comments and whatnot. Drynut, listen to me, man. Stop presuming that you know me and stop presuming that you know what I'm going to say, because you don't.
On topic, please.
The fact of the matter is, Drag. Well, actually, you didn't say that to him when he went off topic.
Well, no, he's been talking about the shrew-like. He's been talking about the shrew-like ancient ancestor and about your arguments. So go ahead.
No, he went off topic, and you did not.
And we're not. No, he didn't. He didn't go off topic. Stop your whining.
On two different occasions now, dude. Seriously. Now look, and then you're gonna get mad when I do it. Then you're gonna.
No, I'm not gonna get mad. I'm not gonna.
I know what you said prior to this show.
Yeah.
All right. Remember that now.
Okay.
All right. So anyway, Dragnet says that we can use paternity. Yes, you can use paternity when it comes to other human beings. You can't do that when it comes to human beings and other animals.
Well, why not?
Okay, because number one, I'm not an animal. Just because I am maybe a gorilla or an orangutan or some other ape-like creature, as far as what he believes about his with this proposition has similarities, does not mean evolution is true. All that could mean is that an intelligent designer that an intelligent designer, you know, made us with similar things and similar stuff. That's all that can mean. Now, you can look at a monkey. You can look at the behavior of a monkey. You can look at the behavior of an orangutan. You can look at the behavior of a gorilla. You can look at how these animals act and what they do and whatnot. You can look at a human being and you can tell that, number one, we're not the same. That's number one. Yeah, we might be similar with how we walk and with certain behavior, but it doesn't mean that you're related to these things. Okay? So in order for you to do that, I'm going to put this little chart up here for Dragnut this time. Okay? This would be a shrew. This could be any animal you want. The moment you say I share a common ancestor with this, you got to be able to show me on your little chart, on your little tree, where I'm at. If it is not there, then I'm not related to that thing. Okay? You can try to argue DNA till you're blue in the face, but you cannot demonstrate to me. You couldn't do it in our debate when we had our debate 101, and you ain't going to be able to do it now. But you're going to be able to demonstrate the changes that DNA would have to make in order for me to have the same DNA. Let's say as a, well, not me, where you have like a Neanderthal, which we don't have, you know what I mean? Or the thing that came before Neanderthal, or the thing before that, the thing before that. What you got is a bunch of bones that you gave names to. That's what you got. And actually, if we're going to be painstakingly obvious, you got a bunch of human beings that were killed, or animals that were killed. The evolutionists lie and pretend are our common ancestors. All right. So what I would like for you to do, Drag, is to scientifically explain to me how these changes in DNA actually happen via mutations, where we go from where our so-called ancestors go from having wings, you know, to having no wings, to go from having fur to having hair. Okay, I would like to hear that, and I still want to see these transitional fossils that you don't have. Now, I actually have something prepared here because I know what you're going to say. I'm going to mute here, so let's hear what you got to say. And for once in your adult life, show me some evidence for evolution. Laughing at me, calling me names, that don't prove nothing. That just means that you're a great bully. Show me the evidence. I know it's difficult, man, but show me. You can do it.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I thought you were done. Go ahead. Oh, you're done. Okay. And actually, I'm sorry, Sokka. I want to let them talk a little bit. So, Dragnet, specifically, I would like you to sort of pick up G-Man's challenge here. So I'm just trying to get this thing sized properly. By the way, I'm scared to do this here because I tried to do a screen share in a thing. First time I've even tried to set up a Hangout a while ago, and it just totally blew up in my face and Chrome crashed. So everyone brace yourself. 3, 2, 1, crash. Is my screen sharing? I'm not screen sharing. I'm scared now to try it. What I was trying to do was screen share G-Man's shrew chart. Since I can't screen share it, can we just, I don't want to risk it again because it caused Chrome to crash the other day. Drake, can you go from memory? So remember he has shrew at the top in a circle and then lines coming down from it. And can you start your answer? Please explain to G-Man where you are on that chart with shrew at the top and the very speciated descendants of shrew. Where are you exactly? And then prove to him why that's where you are.
Okay, so I didn't descend from a shrew. No human descended from a shrew, and I want to make this point very, 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 very clear. Very clear. Describing an animal as shrew-like doesn't mean that it is a shrew. That means it shares certain characteristics to help you understand or illustrate that that's what that creature was. Now, what is understood by the same article that I'd read from the same museum that we visited is that when a population of those there he goes, when a population of shrew-like creatures reproduced, right? Yes, mutations happen. Yes, you have things called SNPs. You were mentioning these earlier in your chat. Single nucleotide polymorphisms in certain genes like the AER, certain genes like the SHH, Sonic the Hedgehog gene. Certain anatomical changes happen when you have changes to sections of a genome in a population of shrew-like mammals, right? So over time, those mutations will end up causing the gross anatomical changes that you, Neffy, and a lot of others are looking for. That is why you don't see a shrew Pokemon evolve into a full-fledged human. It doesn't happen that way. You will have changes, but they will happen way down the line over millions of years, depending on the organism's reproductive rate, also on the rate of mutation, things that we can calculate, things that we can check even to this day.
In bite-sized pieces. Bite-sized pieces. I want to check now, because you're now insisting that you are not a descendant of a shrew. So G-Man, are you cool with that? Did Drag actually insist that he's not a descendant of a shrew? Are you okay with that?
Here's the thing. I believe that Drag is straw manning me at this point, because Drag knows full well what I was talking about. He came in here believing that, you know, you go from a shrew to a human being. And he's trying to say that that's my argument. He knows full well that's not my argument.
But you've said that literally 5 times to my knowledge. To my recollection, you said it 5 times.
And the fact that he would even try that, no, that is not what I said. And I have a whole channel to prove I don't say that. You understand what I'm saying? So you can sit there and say whatever you want. Anytime anybody comes to me, G-Man, do you really believe that you go from a shrew to a human? I'm going to refer them to a video, and then the L word is going to follow. Anybody who believes what this man just said, you're a liar. Because all you got to do is go to my GTV channel, and you'll hear what I really believe about it. He's lying, and he knows it. So, Dragnut, I'm going to ask you this question again. Where are and this is the question that's been avoided, like during this entire time I've been in here. Where are your transitional fossils to prove that I share a common ancestor with a shrew, giraffe, elephant, gorilla, monkey, anything other than a human being? Where are they?
Okay, they're at the museum that you and I visited.
Okay, so and that's this big argument, ladies and gents.
Okay, so you asked me for where it was, and I told you.
A bunch of plastic copies that we still have in the museum is his proof. Great.
Actually, no, the one that you saw, actually, no, the one that you saw in the case that was in the middle right there before you hit that threshold, that one was real. That's why it was encased like that. That one was actually real. You were told that.
Okay. Great. Cat's off to a scientist.
So you can deny that all day long, but that's what you were told.
He failed again.
So you asked for evidence. I gave you evidence, verified the evidence, and you rejected. So that's what I'm saying.
Yes, teacher, I agree with you. Therefore, that's proof. Anyway, Sam, how you doing, Sam? You're an actual scientist. Do you have any evidence, Sam, that that macroevolution is true and that I share a common ancestor with an elephant?
That was for you, Sam. May or may not be available.
He's too busy massaging pork butts right now.
Well, let's hope so. Yeah. Well, you know what? Because I do want to get to the point about evidence, because I think there's actually some new discussion to be had in there. I think that, I don't know, G-Man, are you getting it at all? That, like, one of the problems, let me say it this way. So as Drag has pointed out, that what the actual theory says is there was a very, very small, little furry little critter, ancient mammal, right, that existed at the time of the big dinosaurs, more than 66 million years ago. That's what the theory is. And if anybody believes that theory, G-Man, you have every right to put them to the proof of that and say, really, why do you believe that? What's your evidence for that? You can say that ancient mammal kind of looks shrew-like, or you can say that it kind of looks rat-like or kind of looks rodent-like. You can say whatever, but say what they're saying, right? If somebody says, well, I believe that there was this little four-legged little furry critter that eventually diversified into all mammals. G-Man, you're in a good position to say, really? Why do you believe that? That just sounds crazy on the surface.
Say anything. I just want to see the transitional fossils. See, the whole point is this. It's clear that Dragnut doesn't know what my arguments are. It's clear. Because if he believes that I believe that you go from a shrew to a human, this guy doesn't know nothing about my argument, and I shouldn't even be talking.
You said it 5 times to my recollection in his hand.
I did not, and you know I didn't. So
no, really, you did.
Is there anybody out there that's got any proof that we share a common ancestor with an elephant? Where is the mutations that these animals go through over a long period of time? That where these small changes happen over a long period of time, that'll get ignored up until you get to a human being.
Okay, they're on the AER gene.
Yeah, you're gonna go from an elephant to a human, and if you believe that, and I start calling you stupid, don't get mad. But
Okay,
go ahead.
No, wait, elephant to a human. Now, sorry, what did you say that again about the elephant to a human?
I said anybody who believes, I don't know if it's a lag or whatever. I said anybody who believes that I believe that an elephant, that you go from an elephant to a human. You know what I mean? If that's what if that is what you believe that I believe, and I call you stupid, don't get mad at me. Because on GTV, I even dumbed it down so that even a newborn baby could understand. As a matter of fact, I'll do it with pictures again so that you guys can understand this here. Okay?
Wow, I think that's the first truthful thing you said the whole time.
So let's look at this here real quick, okay? If mom and dad has kids, they are going to take on characteristics of mommy and daddy, okay? Let's say mom had blonde hair and dad had black hair and they have children. They might have brown hair. Maybe their ears might be a little bit bigger. Their nose might be a little bit smaller. Their eyes might be a little bit more in or whatever. And over a long period of time, you know what they're going to produce? Human beings. That is my argument, okay?
Yeah, I agree with that, yeah.
That I share a common ancestor with an animal. In order for that to be true, on my family tree, somewhere on my family tree, there has to be an animal. It doesn't matter how many millions of years you go back. You got to be able to prove that. You guys are making assertions and acting like they're a fact. So that's why all I got to do is sit back here and say, give me the proof, because all you're going to do is laugh, giggle.
I'm gonna go ahead and finish my point. Now that G-Man just went off on that completely, G-Man touched on something in the middle that actually was on topic, but bracketed by completely off-topic nonsense. G-Man, the point I'm making, and I just dearly, charmingly appreciate this if you would listen, is that you're in a good position to ask, what is the evidence? Why do you believe these things? Why do you believe we have a common ancestor with the chimpanzees or with the bananas or whatever? Those are great questions. The problem is, as soon as you start saying something like, prove to me that 2 bananas had a baby and then those babies turned into humans, or whatever crazy thing you say that nobody believes, then automatically the inclination people have is to say, well, no, G-Man, you're wrong. You're wrong about that factual claim. So for example, again, just be patient. For example, when you say—
I never say anything about 2 bananas having babies.
Okay, see, I knew, why did I do that? Why did I use a comparison? Why use a comparison at all? Okay, I will use an example that you actually said 5 times. When you say, show me the evidence that I'm a descendant of a shrew, which you said 5 times, show me evidence that you're a descendant of a shrew. Nobody in here believes that that's the case. Now, like I say, if you want to say
that, Hog Tie, and you know what, you guys got 15 minutes to prove that this evolution is true, because you guys are wasting my time, seriously. Because you guys don't even.
No. Hold on, G-Man. No one's going to prove to you.
Where are they?
Yeah,
Where are fossils? Do you even know what a transitional fossil is? Do you even know why Christians reject evolution?
No one is going to prove to you, G-Man, that evolution is true. Okay, you can once you stop shouting, you can unmute yourself. But it would be nice if you actually listen to the points put before you.
So again, Hog Time. So
yeah,
you misrepresenting me, and Dragnut is misrepresenting me, and then you're muting me when you don't hear what you want to hear.
No. Hold on. No. I'm muting you according to the rules that you insisted on before we came into the hangout. You said, hold on. You said, no. Hold on. No. You said, if anybody in the hangout does this thing, I have to mute them or kick them out of the room. You insisted on that. So far, one person has done it about 14 times, and it's you. I would like to drop that topic and stick with the topic. I want to move on to the evidence thing. Actually, you know what? Let's leave G-Man behind. G-Man's not getting this stuff. G-Man still thinks that because somebody says that birds are dinosaurs, that they necessarily believe that therefore all dinosaurs are birds, which nobody believes. He wants to attribute it to other people. We're going to have to leave him behind because he simply can't keep up on that score. So do you want to move on and talk about evidence?
Yeah. So can I bring some stuff up?
Actually, Sokka, you've been very, very patient.
There we go. Finally.
Yeah. So, I think one of the interesting ones, and this gets one of the reasons why it's a target for people that are trying to deny evolution, is Lucy. Lucy's a very important transitional form, a transitional fossil that we do have, and people can go and take a look at this. They can take a look at the
one moment, Sokka, 1 second. Fossil. 1 second here. Does anybody in the room know G-Man's real name? Don't say it out loud. I'm just
aware of it.
Yeah, don't say it. Don't say it. You know what? I take that back. I shouldn't have said that.
Boy.
When I'm asking, stop it. I shouldn't have used that as an example. Oh, yeah, MP certainly can come in. Can someone get it to him? I just got my hands full here with a couple of things. G-Man, I'm wondering, G-Man, if you're listening.
You got 11 minutes to show me my evidence.
No. Actually, legitimate question. Are you actually listening? Because the reason I interrupted Sokka. No. Hold on. G-Man, I immediately, as soon as I said it, that was a bad example. What I had done was I used that as an example as a test to see if you were listening, and then I immediately realized that was a dumb way to say it, so I immediately took it back. What I'm asking you is, are you listening? Because you've asked for evidence, and Sokka has been saying something. Okay, so I just want to know, can you hear it? Because you
I know that's what you're.
No, I can deal. Oh, hold on. I didn't do that.
I start my own show. I'm just waiting for
G-Man, seriously, if you want to leave, just leave. Nobody's holding you down here. We all know what's going to happen. Oh, he's doing the thing where he's pretending he's going to get kicked. This has been G-Man's plan all along, right?
Well,
he wants to have a 9-on-1. Yeah. Okay. Well, he can leave anytime he wants. Let's hear from Saka.
We'll just keep on going. We'll just keep on going. Listen, because this is more for the audience. Because G-Man's not really going to understand this. But if when he does go and start his own video later, maybe he can do a deep dive into this himself. So when we talk about transitional forms, there's going to be certain predictive things that we have for this. So, for example, we have evidence to believe that we're part of the the primate family, okay, and then that we are primates. But going back, we have to share some type of common ancestry between these points. And so, obviously, phenologically, although we bear many similarities to other old world monkeys, there has to be some type of form that would explain the phenological changes between the old world monkeys and humans. And so when we're looking for transitional forms here, we're looking for, we're not going to have every single one. We're talking about hundreds, if not thousands of generations in between, these species. So to the possibility of finding every single small incremental change is, pretty limited. But we can find like the huge gaps, and we can fill those. And one of the cool things about, these transitional forms is that the more we find, the gaps in between get smaller and smaller. And Lucy was an important one. So if we want to know like why Lucy was a transitional form, at least in the sense of proving human evolution from the old world monkeys, it has to do with the transition of traits between these two species.
Sorry, now, we're doing bite size today, Saka.
Right. So now the reason why Lucy was so important was because it bared like a lot of similarities to old world monkeys, but there was some unique differences in the skeleton that that it had.
Yeah, no, we're hold on a second. We're moving way past bite size. I think you're making some very good points, Saka, but I just sort of, because I sort of wanted to limit it to an hour.
Like I said,
okay, go ahead.
This isn't for G-Man. Now, G-Man's not going to accept any of this.
Oh, I know.
For anybody that's listening, and if G-Man is actually listening to this, this is something maybe he can address the channel later. Okay, so the reason why Lucy was important, like I said, is that there were certain shifts in the skeletal structure of this species, where it bared similar characteristics to some of the old world monkeys that we had before, but it also had unique bone structure and feet that were more reminiscent of modern humans, which gave very good evidence from what we know about bipedal creatures like humans that this animal, Lucy, was a bipedal creature.
Honestly, Saka, I think you're making some great points. I do think that pretty much most people here sort of get that, and I'm going to apologize for this again later. But
so can I just do one more thing?
Well, I've three times asked you to pull the plug on. Go ahead, real quick though.
Okay, this is the last one. Now, the main creationist argument against this, and this convinces a lot of people because they don't actually do the research on their own, is that this was two different skeletons that were just put together. Because even the creationists don't deny that as a complete skeleton, or as the complete form as much as we have, that this is definite proof for evolution. So what they try to do is they try to discredit Lucy by saying that a knee bone was found over here, or it wasn't complete. That's fine. Because since the discovery of Lucy, we actually have over 100 different specimens.
Okay. No, I got it, Saka. Honestly, that's too much. Because there is a solid point you made in there, and unfortunately G-Man missed it. And part of the reason is because, and we all knew this anyway, so G-Man's come in here because, again, he's a hang-up vandal, right? He just wants to come and make an ass of himself and then go, oh, you just muted me, and be a big whiny crybaby. He's going to go on his channel, he's going to be like, oh, I won. Go to his live chat and ask him to give you any sort of an account of what Saka was just saying, or what Drag had said, or what I said. He will not be able to do it because he didn't listen to one little bit. But he will absolutely leave here and go tell a bunch of lies about how he was mistreated and blah, blah, blah. G-Man, here's the thing, and I want you just for a moment. G-Man, sit back in your chair. Shh, have a little calm break now. The thing is, G-Man, the reason why no one is ever going to the reason why no one is ever going to give you evidence that will convince you that evolution is true is because you literally don't listen.
This is why I don't come to your channels, because you're just going to mute me and you're not going to let me talk.
Because you didn't let me. You know what? We just listened to someone else talk. I'm absolutely you absolutely get the last word, G-Man. Okay, you know what? You go ahead, G-Man. G-Man, go ahead. Go ahead and talk, G-Man. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So you just heard Sock Account talk about why I disagree with Lucy. Not one time did he say, G-Man, what is your issues with Lucy? Not one time did he say that.
You know what, G-Man? I agree with you there. I stopped him. I stopped him for that reason.
Let me talk, dude. Seriously.
Because I'm agreeing with you. It takes 2 seconds. It takes 2 seconds to agree with you, but it takes a lot longer when you go into your wacky chicken voice.
Oh boy. Oh boy. So anyway, anyway, you guys are presuming to know my position without even being smart enough to even ask me what my position is. That's number one. And then number two, you all believe that I believe that an elephant will jump from an elephant to a human.
Nope, nobody said that.
So when I go on GTV and I play what I've said in the past on GTV, when I play it, and then you start saying, well, G-Man, I'm not a liar, and I show you what my position is.
No, because you're not listening.
What I've actually said, you're going to look like an idiot. So you can act like I don't have a channel.
Real quick.
It's weird. No.
Sokka, you're out. Sokka, you're out. Just because of that whole thing. There's so many times I had to. But G-Man, you said it. Hold on, G-Man. Listen, I have a question. I have a question. Hold. I have a question because you said it twice, and I'm wondering if you misspoke. Okay, listen. Seriously, you're going to listen to my. I want to answer this question because you said it twice, and I wonder if you misspoke. Okay, you're saying that it's your view that we believe you think humans came from elephants. That you
no. I use that as an example. Okay.
Yeah, well, we'll give. I know. Go ahead.
Right, dude. You gotta learn how to shut up, dude.
Stop complaining. I said go ahead. I said go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I said go ahead.
Dude,
I said go ahead.
So anyway,
you're being a crybaby. You're being a crybaby.
Let's let me know when I can talk. I'm not being a crybaby. I want you to finish your point.
Yeah, because all I did, I said good point, and then later I said go ahead. And if you're going to pee your pants and get all upset about that, there's nothing I can do about it. So go ahead and tell us what your actual view is. By the way, just for clarity, I don't think that you believe humans descended from elephants. I don't know why you would think that anybody would think that you believe humans descended from elephants or from shrews or anything else. I think you just misspoke when you said that. And by the way, you're going to get muted again there because once again, you just did the thing that you said people weren't allowed to do to you. So please, now go ahead, but don't do that again.
Are you finished?
Go ahead.
Are you finished?
Go ahead.
Okay. Are you finished? Yes or no? It's not a difficult question.
G-Man, I've said go ahead.
Okay, so that means don't interrupt me until I'm done. Do you understand that?
Yeah, I don't really care. All right, so who's next? MP,
are you fucking kidding me? It's your fucking show,
Hogtie. That's it. No, that's it.
Yeah, look,
he only gets so many chances.
What a disrespectful fucking cunt.
Well,
look, no. We don't need to go that far, but that's exactly his problem.
This guy.
Yeah, no.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. We've been putting up with this stuff for years, Jay. Like this is nothing new.
He's a big crybaby.
New. Yeah. Like we can have this. Like if you actually play back the video, he asked for 3 separate pieces of evidence, and he specifically asked for a gene. I gave him a gene. He asked for physical evidence.
Ignored all of it.
I gave him that. If you actually listen to the things that he asked, people directly respond to it, and then he simply repeats the question.
Yeah.
In fact,
he asked for transitional form, and I gave him that.
Yeah,
that he denies that no one's ever given him.
I want people to watch this. I, on 2 separate occasions, mentioned the genes to him. G-Man, what genes did I mention to you as evidence that you requested for?
Go ahead, G-Man. Which genes?
Because they have funny names. One's a cartoon character.
Yeah. No, see, he's actually not listening. He's actually, I don't know whether his headphones are aside, but he's typing. No, keep in mind what he asked for. Keep in mind what he asked for. Keep in mind what he asked for and what he actually wanted. G-Man, when it's your turn, you will absolutely have free air to talk. What he asked for was he wanted to do a hangout, and then as soon as he talked to me, literally the first thing he asked for was to get other people in the room. He wants a 9-on-1. He wants to do his big flapping arm waving show and everything else because he won't listen. Literally every question he has asked for, he's been given an answer to. It's in 2 camps. You're next, G-Man, by the way. Actually, sorry, Sam has a question. Is it quick? Okay. But anyway, every time he's asked for something, he's either been told, look, that's not a thing. We don't believe that. Or, oh, you're looking for evidence for that. Here's where we would go to find the evidence. On every occasion, he's ignored it. You say, well, look, we don't believe we came from shrews. He says, well, you believe you came from shrews. But I never said that you believe you came from shrews. And then you show him evidence for what what Drag presented. He ignores it. So that's where we are with it. G-Man, G-Man, I know you said you're going to. Can Sam ask his question relatively quickly, and then G-Man, let's give you like 5 minutes, and then I'm going to kick your ass out because you're dumb as a sack of hair. Go ahead, Sam.
Well, my question would be what is G-Man's actual criteria for considering something a transitional form? If I make the claim that, Tiktaalik is an example of a transitional form, between I forget the type of fish exactly, and amphibian tetrapods, I can outline what the criteria are, but I don't think that G-Man actually outlines anything of what he means. And
No,
then
he
he
doesn't.
can just sort of run away and say, oh, well, they didn't provide the evidence.
You know
That
what?
seems to be my
I
perception.
got it.
And
You know what?
I've only jumped in late.
Yeah,
so
you know
I
what?
don't know.
Oh, he did. And actually, you know what, Sam? I'm really glad you asked that question, because now it's getting to be the G-Man show. He's rolling his eyes and acting like a complete child. But you're asking a question, Sam, that is really, really completely on topic. And G-Man actually has an answer for this. And we opened with this thing. So I actually let's dial back all the personal nonsense. And G-Man, go ahead and answer Sam's question, because you actually had an answer for this. And I think you'll go ahead. You'll set Sam straight on this. Go ahead, G-Man.
Okay, I would like my 5 minutes without being interrupted.
Okay, but you're answering Sam's question, right?
Well, can I speak without being interrupted?
Yes.
Okay,
Unless you go wildly off topic again. Listen, I'm answering your question. Unless you go wildly off topic again and start acting like a child. I'll tell you what, I'll give you this. I promise not to mute you for the remainder of the hangout.
Hawk, I want to make sure I understand what your issues are with me before I get started. You're saying that I came in this room and I was acting like a child, right?
No, that's not true. I don't think that. No, I don't think that.
Okay, so you're thinking, so I've heard you say so far in this hangout that I'm rolling my eyes. Yeah. I'm acting like a child. And
now,
I'm
in the late part.
Right?
Yeah, in the late part, yeah.
You're not going to take down this hangout, are you?
In the late part. Jen, G-Man, you can stop asking that same inane question over and over again.
Yes or no answer.
Yeah. I'm going to stick with the answer I gave you before when the last 4 times you asked that question. I'm going to stick with that answer. Do you have an answer for Sam's question?
So this is
what I'm Sam's question.
I would like to actually talk, dude, without you interrupting me.
Do you have an answer for Sam? Just answer.
I was challenged to come in here and talk about evolution, and all I've been doing is being.
Oh, that's not true.
Fairly well. I mean, like I said, you guys are the only ones that like talking. You love the sound of your own voices. So I'm going to mute. And when
let's give him. Okay, tell you what. So now I've got the answer to the question. He's not going to answer your question, Sam. I think that's unfortunate, because I thought he had a very sensible answer to it before.
That's not what I said. I'll do the same later. Don't worry.
Okay, go ahead. Everybody mute. Let's everybody mute. You got your. Let's give you 3 minutes, G-Man. If you're on a roll, we're gonna let you go to 5 minutes. We'll give you. Listen, stop interrupting. We'll give you 3 minutes to get your point off the ground. If you're on topic after 3 minutes, you know what? We're gonna let it roll. Just go until make your point. Please, if you guys want to interrupt or something, just type it in the side chat first. Please don't unmute and interrupt G-Man. Go ahead, G-Man.
All right. So I came into this room because the people in my live chat was saying that I was scared to take on these guys. I have made it, and by the way, I'll probably be kicked out of here in the middle of me saying this by Hogtie Champ if it happens, okay? I was actually coming here to talk about evolution and whatnot.
I'm not going to kick you out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mute you because you insisted on this rule. If people do what you just did, you said I had to mute and or kick the person, okay? So let's start again.
I think you're being dishonest, Hogtie. Here, let me. I think you're being dishonest. You know good and goddamn well when G-Man establishes a set of rules, that's for everybody.
Everybody else. Okay, you know what?
He will never abide by the rules
that
he agrees to.
Thank you for that clarification.
Come on.
I misunderstood. I apologize, G-Man. Let's amend the rule that way. I will now enforce the rule only on other people. G-Man, you can go ahead and do all the childish things that you insisted nobody else was allowed to do. I will not mute you. I'll not kick you. Looking at the clock, 5 minutes go.
Okay, so like I was saying before, and I'm glad that there are some Christians watching this and you understand what I've been saying for the longest time. I was challenged to come in here to talk about evolution. You understand what I'm saying? And I wanted proof for transitional forms. Nobody has provided jack in here. All I've had happen since I've been in this room is a bunch of condescending and a bunch of people grandstanding and a bunch of people in here basically being hypocrites. I'm being told that I'm acting like a child. Meanwhile, Dragnet is over there making all kinds of facial gestures and no one's saying nothing to him. Like I said, it's all good. I'm still a creationist, will always be a creationist. I believe intelligent design. I believe that the evidence that was provided in this room today for the transitional forms is not really evidence. It contradicts their worldview and they don't know what they're talking about. I'm sorry. That's about as far as I can go with that. Sokka just wanted to be heard. He didn't want to have a back and forth. Dragnet just wanted to be heard. He didn't want to have a back and forth. Hogtie Champ got creamed before they even got in here. All right. Heavy Hauler is just being gullible. I think that's what they call you, sir, right? Heavy Hauler is just in here just so he can grandstand and whatnot. Listen to me. If you guys are going to hate me, hate me. But in order for you to shut me up about evolution, somebody's got to provide me some evidence for transitional forms and actually represent my proposition correctly, which Dragna didn't do. And I'm going to prove it later when I actually critique the debate that I had with him, when he knows full well that is not the position that I have. That's number one. Number two, Hogtie Champ is being intellectually dishonest. In this room, before we got started, Hogtie Champ claimed that this was going to be a respectful adult conversation, and it wasn't. It just wasn't. All I wanted was to have a conversation here, or / debate or whatever, about whether or not there was going to be any, whether or not they had any proof for transitional fossils. I put this chart here. No one's even addressed it. No one even talked about it. You know what I mean? All they're doing is laughing at me, making fun of me, the same things that I said that they was going to do on Marked by God and GTV. Hogtie, you haven't been on here long enough probably to know what my claims are. I don't believe that you guys are capable of having an adult conversation about this. So again, I'll ask this question for the last time while I'm in this room. Okay? I would like to see some real-time evidence for transitional fossils where I share a common ancestor with an elephant.
Lucy. Okay,
there are going to be a lot of small changes over a long period of time with the so-called common ancestor. All I want is those small changes. I don't think I'm asking a tough question.
Could we provide
let him go. Let's let him go, please. Let him go.
I got 5 minutes. I believe that I came in this room being sincere, and I came in this room and I got laughed at. I was told I couldn't spell, I couldn't read, and I'm exaggerating when I say that. All right, I'm being told I'm dumb, but nobody showed me any evidence for what I'm talking about.
Lucy,
it doesn't matter if I'm in here with 1 atheist or 50 atheists. None of them believe that this stuff is true because none of them can actually prove that they are a transitional form. They don't even know what a transitional form or a transitional fossil is. So again, in order to change my mind about evolution, you got to do something other than laugh. You got to do something other than
yeah, we get it.
And you got to actually provide evidence. If you can't do that, then you just got
it. We got it. Okay, so let me run through your points. Let me run through your points real quick. No, I'm going to address it.
I'm going to fucking blow up here.
I don't know. No, he's been a child. Okay, so yeah, okay, you can go next, Sokka. But look, I'll give you real quick with it. So G-Man says I was challenged. He wasn't challenged. He invited himself to come on my channel. I don't mind. You're welcome anytime you want. He says no evidence. Again, we've every time you've asked a question, G-Man, it's either been a stupid question about something nobody believes, in which case you've been told it's a stupid question about something that nobody believes, or you've asked for evidence and we've started to discuss the evidence and you've ignored it. Okay, which I think is a shame. I've said repeatedly, we need to talk about the evidence. Is this evidence actually accessible to the layman? I think that's a great discussion. It's a discussion you ran away from like the coward that you always are. You said, what else is here? He goes, that people accuse you of acting like a child. No, when you first came in, it was a respectful conversation, but you didn't ask for evidence. You insisted on having a bunch of people come in so that you could have your little meltdown and then go hold up your hands and go, oh, I was kicked out. Oh, the atheists treat me so poorly. And when you don't get kicked out, then you act like a child just to make it worse. Whatever, that was your choice. You weren't like that at the beginning though, so that's fine. Transitional forms contradicts their world of view. I don't even know what the hell that even means, why it's said, what it possibly could have made any sense in your head when you said it, but things like that come out of your face hole. Who knows what you meant? Hogtie Champ got creamed. He got creamed. Yeah, okay, you're a tough guy, G-Man. Nobody knows what you're talking about. Heavy hauler grandstanding. That it just your brain just like, I don't know, sparks. I don't know what.
I was grandstanding. It was me. I was the one who was grandstanding.
He said heavy hauler weirdly. I don't know. It just went on from there. You said about the respectful adult conversation. We did agree before coming on that we would have a respectful adult conversation. I absolutely knew that G-Man simply would not do that. And as we now see, actually, here, let me do this. This is just for fun. Here, let's do this present to everyone thing. I'm G-Man. I'm holding up my hands because he's going to kick me out. And so G-Man thinking that he can be as childish as he wants until he gets kicked out because that's how he wins. He says, I already beat Hogtie even before I came in. Well, when G-Man rage quits, that's him winning. When G-Man acts like a child and gets kicked out, that's him winning. When G-Man has a fair discussion where time is allocated properly, oh, he's upset because I'm taking 2 minutes to address his 5-minute rant. And just addressing the points he made. So whatever. And again, G-Man, this was something that you said you weren't going to do, but you are absolutely doing it because you're a liar. And that's absolutely what we expect. Came in being sincere. That's not true. He came in repeatedly insisting that other people come in so he can make a shit show out of it and then run away going, I won. Evolution's wrong. I'm totally logical, G-Man. And anyway, that about wraps up his points. Sokka, you had a response.
Yeah, because a lot of the stuff was actually that he said was actually directed towards points that I brought up. He said that we couldn't even define what a transitional form was. Well, if you look back to what we were talking about, I did. I defined a transitional form as, you know, something that present physiological characteristics between, you know, two species. And the example that I brought up of Lucy, and what those physiological changes or the phenotypical changes were that they would have. He said that we haven't shown a transitional form. Well, again, you know, providing the definition of what a transitional form is, I provided the evidence of Lucy. And then, you know, I also, just to throw a little bit more onto it, because I know he's just going to run to the book of Hovind, that, you know, Lucy, oh, they just discovered the knee miles away, and it's from a different time frame. I wanted to point out that we actually have, you know, a lot more of these complete, fossilized remains than we did at that time. So everything that G-Man required was in what I told him to do. Now, I understand what Drake did, but I mean, you're talking genetics with a guy with, I mean, he's not going to understand it, okay? But at least maybe he could understand, you know, the basic part of the argument that he was looking for there. So for him to come out afterwards and say that, well, you know, they did not meet the satisfaction of what I was looking for. Now, he can say that he's unconvinced, but we completely met the requirements of what he was looking for within that example alone. So at this point in time, he's either just being dishonest, or, like I've said before, he's just too stupid to function. His greatest strength is the fact that he doesn't realize how stupid he is. And if he is still watching this, G-Man, don't review yours and Drake's debate. You're just going to look like an idiot again there. But what I would recommend you do is review this discussion. And as we're going along, and as we're talking again about the certain things that we bring up, maybe start Googling some of this stuff. Look it up on your own, and see whether or not anything that we presented you to would actually constitute as evidence. And yeah.
Yeah, this is a part of the shame. And of course, there's nothing unexpected. I mean, by the way, I know I'm going to get some comments on my channel. I haven't hosted a Hangout for a long time, and I've just not bothered with the whole G-Man nonsense. And, you know, he's been a real ball of fire lately. I figured this little chat might help distract him from his woes with his shanty miseries and whatnot. Just for the audience's benefit, while Sokka was speaking, you notice that G-Man, being the coward that he is, he did run away. He's done that a couple of times, so I felt it was appropriate to free up his spot in case somebody else wanted to join. Anybody whose only participation in the conversation is to just, you know, be a baby and shout and wave his arms and be a crazy person and then walk away and hold that spot in the room, that's okay. We'll just free up that spot. But he was a coward, and we all saw on the film strip there he did run away from the Hangout.
There is one more point that I want to quickly address. In the last video he was doing, I was in the external chat, and the comment came up that the reason why people laugh at G-Man is, instead of teach him, is because he's unteachable. He's unteachable, so it leaves us in no position but to laugh. And G-Man's retort to this was, well, I've once heard someone say that there was no such thing as bad students, there were only bad teachers. Whoever told him that lied. G-Man
they've never taught undergrads.
Yeah, G-Man is a bad student. like because, and do you know what you need to be a bad student? No desire to learn.
Yeah.
And G-Man has no desire to learn.
Yeah, I think that sentiment is very philosophical, right? That you know, teachers, if you're really a teacher, up your game. You know, I don't think it's really meant to be a statement to be taken seriously. I mean, there certainly are people who have difficulty learning, and I think what your point is, and I don't mean to sort of get your point, because I think the thing you're saying is right, is that what do you do? And this is part of the reason why I won't take seriously a conversation with G-Man. I mean, I'll certainly, anytime he wants to do it, I'm open to saying, like, if he has a question. So if he says, you know what, Hogtie, I want to ask you about Lucy's knee, which is what he said he wanted to talk about Lucy. Did he mention Lucy at all? No. You know, he said he wanted to talk about that. I would love to. And Osaka brought it up, which was a very good point. Part of why the creationists are in such a twist about Lucy is because they've been told and they believe a false story about some falsification that had happened with placing Lucy's knee. The story, you know, I mean, I would have loved to have talked to him about it, but you know what he's like. Yeah, I mean, it's not, he's not a bad student. He's not a student at all. A student is somebody who at least presents for learning. And he's not. He just likes to come in and, you know, and play this little game. And he's going to go to his channel like it's some big surprise to all of us. He's going to be like, oh, you know, I totally owned, or whatever stupid song is, Hogtie Champ. And he didn't. He came in, he didn't listen to anything anybody said to him. And it's not one bit of surprise to anybody. So whatever.
I will say that on two points, he claims that everyone just wants to make fun of him and that no one's ever tried to teach him. And that's why I keep going back to our trip to the museum. That's when everyone took it seriously and actually tried to teach him. He's retained nothing from what he was. And we spent well over an hour in that one exhibit, painstakingly trying to teach him about chromosomes, trying to teach him specifically crossing over. And that's what Fiona went over, trying to teach him a little bit about homology, trying to teach him about a little bit of, you know, genetics and as far as similarities between, you know, you and your cousin versus you and this other organ. Like there's just different aspects of it. And he can't say that never happened. Now, he doesn't believe it, but that has happened. What's even more interesting, in a private phone call, back when I had this idiot had my number, he actually did admit to me on the phone after some prying that he will not accept evolution and it does not matter. And I know that seems crazy. No one ever believes that. What ended up happening is that we had a conversation about his frustration talking to atheists, because it was his understanding and his belief that people have this mental block and that atheists in particular refuse to believe in the God of creation because of this mental block, this bias. And that they could never, no matter what evidence he put forth or anyone else, would never come to believe it because, you know, rejecting the truth and unrighteous bullshit. And I said, well, gee, man, you could say that for anybody, right? Anybody could have that. And so I said, well, gee, man, isn't the same thing true about you and evolution? Well, no. Well, yeah, it is true. It doesn't really matter. And then that was the first sobering kind of experience I had where he overtly admitted that it does not matter what the evidence is. We all could surmise that based on these conversations, but he did actually admit that. So for those of you who are fooling yourselves into thinking that there's actually any evidence that he will, that he can be presented, and you can ask him, did you have that phone call with Drag where y'all talked about that? He'll deny it. He will outright lie and say that never happened. But that was one of many conversations where he would admit little things like that. Even the bravado and the shit that he shows where he just starts lying. Well, that's how he excuses the lying because, well, that's just part of his showmanship. So I hate to break it to y'all folks who really believe that you can present evidence when specifically given genetic evidence and other types of evidence for like transitional form, you see in this conversation alone that he ignored it.
Yeah, I want to actually, I want to wrap things up. Let's say 12 minutes. We'll end it on the hour here. I'm going to take a short break before I come back to end it. But I really want to echo, especially that first point you made. I mean, people know this thing about G-Man, that he just will not listen to evidence. He doesn't want it. I mean, when the evidence actually starts to make sense to him, then it gets to be painful. And it doesn't matter because he doesn't even let it make sense to him. His whole game is to say, well, you're not making any sense. You know, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Oh, you're not making any sense. And like it's that whole argument from incredulity, but like with an extra level of just like, I'm incredibly stupid on top of it, right? Like he's intentionally that way. But I do want to echo your first point, and that is the idea that he says, well, people only say I'm stupid, people only say I'm childish, and they never just, you know, why don't they just try to teach me? Why don't they just try to teach me? Hey, the door is always open, like for years, anytime, and then literally up into and including today. When he wanted to do this hangout, he said he had questions about Lucy. He had, you know, questions about transitional forms or transitional fossils, he says, and he just wants to talk about this. But as soon as we get into a room, the first thing he says is, well, did you send out the link? Did you send out the link? I want other people coming in. I want those other people to come in. They call me a coward. I want them to come in. Oh, so you don't want to talk about the evidence. You don't want to talk about Lucy. You don't want to talk about transitional forms. You want to talk about people calling G-Man a coward. So he's just completely dishonest when he comes in. And when he comes in, so well, no, like he insisted we talk about transitional forms. I said, okay, well, let's talk about that. I very calmly tell him when he has a good question. I tell him when he's mistaken about something. I try to explain it to him, only to have him then turn around and be childish. And then you tell him, hey, you're being childish. He then turns around and says, all you people ever do is call childish, and you never try to explain things to me. Well, where were you a half hour ago when we were, at least me, were being patient and showing you stuff? Where? You know, where was he? He's just rubbing his hands, waiting for his chance to do his big G meltdown, and then so he can go on his channel and go, "Oh, guy was mean to me."
Okay, I'm on a grandstand, y'all. Okay,
Bring it on.
Well, he wants evidence or whatever in 15 minutes. How do you boil down hundreds of years of research by thousands and thousands of scientists in varied fields of science, biology and paleontology and all this, down into 15 minutes. Okay, here it is. How do you do that in 15 minutes?
Well, you do that. You do that.
Well, something I want to finish though.
Oh, sorry.
There is a thing that I really love. It's called the Taxonomy browser that NCBI has, and there's a link to it there. So I'm looking at it, and if you switch back and forth between Homo and shrews, you can see where they sort of kind of split. There's no specific animal, but it's going by clades and superclades and stuff like that. And it's like there's something called Boeutheria, and that divides into Uroconticliers and Laurasia. And at that division, and it gives examples of animals in these clades and superclades or whatever. And like the Uroconticliers has us, primates. And then the other one, the Laurasia has shrews and other things. I mean, looking at that, if you knew how to look at it, you could see places where the lineages split off based on evidence. New evidence could change where they split or change relationships. But I mean, that's just one thing that you could look at. And if you're not familiar with what you're looking at or understand it, it's just a bunch of big words, as some people say. Oh, they're using big words. But when you dig into it, and you have to dig into it, has he ever dug into anything? Has he ever really looked at a phylogenetic chart or cladogram or anything like that on his own to try to learn, or let someone kind of walk him through? Here's this chart, and it splits splits off here, there, yonder, and then it continues to split based on the best evidence. This is what we've got. And now that we have DNA evidence, we can refine this phylogenetic chart and all that stuff. Has he ever really sat down and bothered to take the time with this? And that's go ahead, Saka.
So to answer your question, like the last one, no, he's never done this. Like I highly doubt that he did that. And even if he had at one point in time seen like a picture of kind of like the evolutionary tree or anything like that, he wouldn't be able to understand what it was, or it would just dismiss it as just merely pictures on paper and that's it, without actually looking into it. But to the question of how do you break this down, like the first one in 15 minutes, well, you have to shoot small, and like Hogtie said, it's the small bites. Unfortunately, the bites that he's capable of are a lot smaller than what's needed. But so we presented just like the one example. You have humans descended from old world monkeys, okay, and you bring the one example in the middle, and that's you use one example there. Now, there's a lot of different examples we can put in there. We can fill in more gaps in between these things, but you just have to start small. And if you have them at that point in time, well, then you expand it out beyond it further. When he asks for like all the transitional forms between some shrew-like creature that lived 65 million years ago and humans, we're talking about potentially thousands of transitional forms, and we just don't have the time to do something like that. Sorry, and let me finish up on this point here. This is the last one. One of the biggest problems that he has is that he has a hard time. He confuses all the time. Like he'll ask for a common ancestor between humans and something else, and then he'll ask for transitional forms between two things. Right. So when you ask for a common ancestor between, for example, an elephant and a human, you're going to be going back pretty far. When you ask for a common ancestor between a human and a chimpanzee, you don't have to go as far back. But when you ask for the transitional forms between an elephant and a human, well, that's fucking stupid. And I'm not sure he realizes how stupid of a question that is, because an elephant never became a human, and a human never became an elephant, so there wouldn't be expected any transitional forms between those things, unless what he's asking for is all the transitional forms from the common ancestor to each respective species. which again, we already have the problem with the thousands of forms that would be required for this, and then now we have to double that, and he doesn't have the patience to sit through an entire lecture on something like that.
Yeah, it's too bad. I sort of want to wrap things up here fairly quickly. Go, Sam. You go.
I was going to say, well, when it comes to these scientific things and whatnot and everything and whatnot, it's always complex to have this discussion with G-Man, because that he's just going to be an arsonist, and really what we should be doing, and what Hogtie did, was put him in jail. It just wasn't physical jail.
Yeah, well, yeah. When it comes down to it, I say in a way, there's a big part of me for more than a couple of years now. I've actually wanted to do a hangout to talk about evidence, and I'm not going to do it here. I'll just say this is why I find it interesting, because we have the same discussions over and over again about, they're dumb and they ask these dumb questions. I mean, G-Man, and like Sokka points out, as I pointed out several times, G-Man's got a good question. Why do you think that the chimpanzees are your cousin? On what is your epistemic framework that makes you believe that that's the case? That's a great question. We should all ask ourselves this. I think the flat earthers. Sam left weirdly. I think the original flat earthers, not the modern people who actually believe the earth is flat, but the original flat earth movement, which was done by some philosophers who said, well, of course you believe the earth is round, but why do you believe it? Right? Is it because scientists tell you so? And it really meant to get people to question things. I think we're in a really good position to actually answer some of these questions as if they're being asked, because I have real concerns about the accessibility of evidence. So, for example, when you believe the earth is round, what observations have you actually made that makes you think that? Well, just stop and ask yourself that. Are you really in a good epistemic position to know that the earth is round? Are you really in a good epistemic position to believe that we have a common ancestor with the chimpanzees and the bonobo? It's a really fascinating question. I'd love to do a hangout on it. Of course, as we know, G-Man is not actually asking those questions, which is why I don't take him seriously. With regard to today's hangout, I enjoyed the heck out of this because it reminds me why I don't do hangouts with G-Man. The only reason I did this today, in part to remind the audience too, because I always do hangouts, you know what? It's stuff like this that just makes it go, like, why bother? The guy was just an absolute child. By the way, for those who are curious, yes, he absolutely ran over to his own channel. And I heard, as I stepped away from the computer there for a bit, I heard only a couple minutes of it. But of course, his narrative is hilarious because he says, oh, well, he had me running these questions I couldn't answer. And then he says, oh, and to save his behind, Hogtie decided to invite other people into the room. How many times did G-Man insist? I can tell you, before we went on air, he insisted 3 times in that conversation. You're giving out the link, right? You're getting other people in here, right? And who do you want in? He says, well, all those people who call me cowards, get them in here, get in here. So now his story is that to save my behind, I decided to invite other people in. I just insisted on it. And he says, oh, and he even invited the right people too, just to really, whatever. Like he's the one, I told him, invite whoever you want. Who do you want the link sent out to? Right? Well, I don't pick the people who come in. Like, he's insane. So he's going to do his thing. You can not expect any more. I mean, I might do another one a year later. Who knows? But he's a child. He doesn't listen. The only reason we do this, as sorry, I also wanted to say. Sorry, I'm going to skip that point just so I can get the thing I wanted to say. Smartest thing said in this entire hangout. That award goes to Heavy Hauler for his observation about. I forgot what it was now. It was really good, though. It had something to do with evidence.
Oh, the
Taxonomy
browser?
Well, it was just about, like, when you ask a question, like, I mean, I do think it is a good
yeah, about how do you boil down in 15 minutes all this stuff that's several hundred years or longer of research by all these thousands of people. How do you boil that down?
Yeah, and let me throw this point onto it, too. And I'm just sort of, like, sweeping a bunch of random stuff together, because I do kind of want to end this. This is, better stuff to do, but there is a really interesting thing that Dummy, I've heard, G-Man has picked up from Hovind, and that is, and even when I asked around some philosophers if there was a special name for this fallacy, it certainly strikes me as a special case of the straw man fallacy, and it goes something like this: like, Sam, prove to me that evolution is true. Just give me even one scrap of evidence evolution is true. And then you say, well, when you line up the genomes, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, well, that doesn't prove evolution. You go, well, no, you asked for some evidence, right? Or they say, well, prove to me that whatever. And they'll give me an example of evolution observed in a laboratory. So then you give them something and they go, yeah, but those are still bacteria. That doesn't prove that we came from monkeys. So it's a straw man when you ask somebody give me a scrap of evidence. And then when they start to present the evidence to you, you pick up each individual piece of evidence and you say, well, that itself doesn't prove it. Give me another piece of evidence. Well, that itself doesn't prove it. Give me another piece of evidence. And as Heavy Holler was pointing out, I mean, he said initially just regarding taxonomy, but when you think about the wealth of information that comes into play, how many different fields of science come into play when you test for things, whether they're consistent or inconsistent with common ancestry, and everything turns up, consistent with common ancestry, except for some historical documents, like the Bible, for example, is a piece of evidence that speaks against common ancestry. But so what? It's what somebody wrote, right?
Hogtie, the real agenda there, when you say it, is like, it's not so much a fallacy so much as it's people that want you to do their homework for them.
Yeah.
Like, that's consistently what they do when they're, I can list 2 examples, and this seems to be a uniquely creationist tactic, but it happens with all types of, ignorance, which is that people will go, well, they'll say, oh, like, well, they want evidence of something. For instance, I had a discussion with Ronnie, and he goes, well, how did this, I forget the exact pathway, it might have been the NADH pathway. How did that evolve? And I literally just Googled it, and I was like, oh, look, there's a whole section in the molecular biology of the cell, which is the most commonly used textbook on this. And I was like, did you look into this? And then with Standing for Truth, I did something similar where I asked him, who is beating the shit out of their keyboard?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was muted. It's the Rumpus. The Rumpus is making an appearance.
But the whole, when I was talking with Standing for Truth, and I go, well, no, if you actually look at this field, like, that prediction is specifically wrong. And then he goes, well, can you give me like the citations? And I go, I can't just provide one citation for what has been an entire field of research. And I think that that's kind of what they want. They want it condensed down so that they don't have to do any hard thinking. Because I got to tell you, you know what, like, I could be, like, even if my focus was evolutionary biology, there is zero chance that I would have an encompassing knowledge of what's out there, because there are literally hundreds of thousands of papers on the topic. And, even in my own little niche area of expertise, I still don't know all of the references that are out there, because there's thousands and thousands. So I'm left with an impression of these people just want to be dishonest and lazy, and they want us to sort of provide backing by failing. It's a weird backwards incentive.
Well, the one thing I was going to just ask is, who are the cowards? How many people have asked to talk to G-Man about the subject of even new people that are on here? So I don't know why I don't know where this coward thing comes into play. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Coward thing, I think it comes about because G-Man thinks, well, in his own mind, he really is like indestructible.
It's a lack of bother.
There's nothing you can do to really take him out, mainly because he's a literate fuck, and that's pretty much the detriment to him and being able to learn.
Yeah, he's like many of the creationists and people we run into. I don't know anything about evolution, but let me tell you how it's wrong. Or why
let me tell you what you believe about evolution. Just like, okay.
Yeah, if you're going to argue against something, you need to know something about it.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, certain times he'll say, like, oh, well, that's not true. Like, that prediction wasn't met. Or, how do you know it came from here? Well, here's like 100 articles that have studied this phenomenon and show conclusively that it has, and that what we're saying is true. And like, even in like the research that I do, if you have questions about like what a person's done or why they chose to use a specific method, you can sometimes like shoot them an email, and sometimes they'll get back to you and clarify like why this method was used over another or something like that.
Yeah, see, G-Man has at his access an incredible wealth of knowledge with all these people, like the people in the room right now, and so many others. And if he would just be patient and sit, he could learn this stuff. That's how I'm kind of learning this stuff, a little bit at a time, and doing my own research and looking up stuff.
Yeah,
you can understand it. You can learn just the basic. Like for me, I'll never know that much. It's just very basic stuff, but I know enough to understand it on a level to where it's like, oh yeah, this makes sense,
Well, so there's there's a couple of stories in here from me and Drag. Drag, are you here? Is he here and whatnot, or is that overweight coward AFK? Well, what I was gonna say is, you know, Drag
I don't know.
has,
He might be fucking his wife.
yeah. I mean, there's a good chance he's having sex with Mrs. D.
Or
you know,
fapping. Could be fapping.
could be either. You know, look, I don't know about their activities and whatnot, but it's, you know, and everything and whatnot. But all I know is that she needs to get a real man. But there are two sort of interesting stories, which is that you know, when Drag visited visited me in Southern California, he actually met with my boss, right? And I think that he would testify that, you know, my boss is you know, a highly influential scientist. If you were to sort of take his impact factor for whatever that means, and you compared it to, let's say, someone online that we know, Thunderfoot, I think it's maybe double or triple. So it's not something like that. And, you know, this is a legitimately, you know, very well-known researcher, but the guy's down to earth. You ask him a question, he'll give you the answer, he'll give you his honest opinion. And to be honest, as, you know, Heavy Hauler has said, these people are very accessible. It's the fact that they want to pretend, there's this myth that they want to pretend that you know, this knowledge is inaccessible, and it's because they're just fucking lazy and they're not interested in any sort of discussion. As you know, I think Hogtie has demonstrated here, he's just an arsonist.
Yeah, well, I just came back. I heard nothing of anyone just said, so I'm going to grandstand. Dragnot's the winner and whatnot. All right, I just want everyone to know. If you okay, so on a serious note,
I thought you were in physical jail.
Physical jail.
And meanwhile, your wife is cavorting with you, you overweight coward.
Well, that's she does that. She likes to parlay with the enemy, so to speak. But
look, I don't care about her activities and whatnot and everything and whatnot.
She's actually laughing at that. But like no one's shocked. Like there's like what is it, 80-something people watch it. Literally no one is shocked that he was a child. Like his whole intention on coming in here was just to prove to people he wasn't a coward. And he even stated it. Like that was the goal. It wasn't to understand anything. He complains after the fact that no one taught him anything. But if your goal is to simply stand up to the people who are saying bad things about you, then what does that actually accomplish? Oh, cool. You can endure a fraction of the abuse that you give other people for a certain duration of time to convince people that you aren't the same person you were before you came in. Like I don't get that. But if his goal was to prove that he understood the topic, then he utterly failed. If the people who came into this conversation and thought that he understood it walked away with the same idea, then they're fucking stupid. Because at no point in time do you have any of these creations, no Standing for Truth, no Neffys, no Trues, none of these guys have anything actually to offer any of these conversations, other than to simply shit in the middle of the discourse, posture, and just make an ass of themselves. So I don't know what more anyone can do, how many handicaps you can put in place to help them understand a topic that honestly they should be able to learn on their own in their own freaking free time. But there's a
hey guys, this is chaos. Like I have two different conversations in my head here. It was fun talking with you. I'm kicking you all out. You can go talk somewhere else. I'm on G-Man's thing on Skype, and if you guys talking and him talking, it's too much rattle. So anyway, thanks everybody for joining in. I do thank G-Man for his mature presence for the first 15-20 minutes, and the rest we've all talked about. So anyway, have a good night, everybody. Take care. Bye.
Whatnot.